Today we're going to take a brief look at Teddy Roosevelt's presidency during the Progressive period. Now, of the three Progressive presidents, Roosevelt, Taft, and Wilson, Roosevelt is certainly going to be one of the more famous. And that's because he was able to reach a wide variety of people and different ways of life. He had a larger-than-life personality that enabled him to appeal to many people in the country. Okay, looking at his background first, he actually starts off in the military. He rises his way up through the United States Navy. Then when the Spanish-American War occurs, right, he is actually going to volunteer for military duty, right, and he is going to lead a cavalry unit called the Rough Riders, right, and then use that fame, right, to begin a career in politics. Political career begins as governor of New York in 1898. Right, and then he works his way up and becomes vice president under William McKinley in 1900, next in line for the presidency. Right, McKinley's going to be assassinated in 1901. Roosevelt then becomes president, and he's actually going to be the youngest president we have ever had in history taking office when McKinley gets assassinated. Okay, this is a picture of Roosevelt with his cavalry unit on top of San Juan Hill. It was a famous battle from the Spanish-American War. We're going to talk about that in the next chapter. But he is able to use the popularity he gains from that war to enter politics, and just kind of gets his name out there for people to hear. Okay, looking at some of the changes that he tries to make, he begins it right as governor, trying to enact change in society, and his big goal as governor in New York is to fight corruption. Now, we talked about political machines. Exchanging favors for votes, elected officials taking bribes, appointing their loyal supporters, the patronage system. Roosevelt's really going to try and clamp down on that stuff, right, as governor. And then he carries that momentum into his presidency, where he still is trying to, right the wrongs, fight corruption. All right. He felt the purpose of government was to ensure fairness for workers, right, consumers and big business, right. The idea of fairness was the sole purpose of government. All right, government shouldn't be trying to favor one over the other. Okay, government should just be assuring that everybody is playing by the same rules. Right, and that's where the nickname for his administration is born. All right, a square deal. Okay, here was his quote. He says, "When I say I believe in a square deal, I do not mean, and nobody who speaks the truth can mean, that he believed it possible to give every man the best hand. All I mean is that there shall not be any crookedness in the dealing." Right? So essentially what Teddy Roosevelt was saying here was that everybody deserves a fair opportunity. Might not necessarily be an equal opportunity, because remember, we did have the Gilded Age, so we do have a big gap between the haves and the have-nots. But Teddy Roosevelt felt that government should be trying to ensure that everybody does get a fair opportunity. Right. Here are some of the accomplishments that he had made during his presidency. Okay, he is going to be an enforcer of the Sherman Antitrust Act, using that legislation to try and break up monopolies and trusts. Remember, monopolies are going to harm consumers by eliminating competition. They then can charge whatever price they want for that particular good. Okay, and even though he uses the Sherman Antitrust Act, right, he believed that there were good trusts and bad trusts. Right? And the bad trusts are the ones that the government needs to go after, because they are harming consumers. There are some industries where it's good to have maybe only one person or one business controlling that particular industry. All right? For instance, here in Orange County, okay, we have Orange and Rockland Power. There's only one company that offers it. The government can work and control, regulate to a reasonable extent, okay, the prices that they have. If it was just a full-blown monopoly, they charge whatever they want, that hurts the consumers. Right? He also used the Sherman Antitrust Act to break up Standard Oil Company. We talked about that as well. John D. Rockefeller, right? Eliminating competition only hurts the consumers. Right? And then the other thing, as gross as it was, we did discuss The Jungle, right? The book by Upton Sinclair, where he is going against and he's showing the conditions of the meatpacking facilities, or the food processing centers in the country, right? And Teddy Roosevelt actually read the book, and he actually considered becoming a vegetarian because he was so, appalled by the conditions. And this is from someone who is a very famous big game hunter, right, who considered giving up meat because of what it was that he was reading about. right? And then Reading the Jungle leads to 2 laws that are passed, right? The Meat Inspection Act and the Pure Food and Drug Act, trying to make the food safer for us to eat. Another big issue that was important to Roosevelt was conservation. All right, that was the idea that we should be trying to take care of our natural resources, being very concerned with waste and if they're being used properly. Right, he is going to help preserve 194 million acres of public land. So setting up national parks all around the country, nature preserves, things like that. All right, now this is a famous political cartoon of Teddy Roosevelt. Obviously, you can see that this here is Teddy Roosevelt, all right, and it looks like he's cooking a Teddy speech, Teddy obviously being his nickname. Now I want you to see what's going on here in this cartoon, right? It looks like he has lots of different ingredients, all right? He's pouring in progressivism, okay, which is the movement to try and make society better, all right, make progress in society. He has pure democracy here. He has conservative views, right? He has radical spice here. Okay, if you look closely here, it says initiative, referendum, and recall. All right, those were the 3 political reforms that we had discussed as well. And the last ingredient was any old view. And it looks like he's just mixing them all here into the Teddy speech. So you have all of these different organizations that are going to be addressed or catered to in his speech. Right, so that's why the caption here says, the more you mix in, the easier to satisfy everyone. And that was one of the successes that Teddy Roosevelt had as president, is he was able to reach, right, he's able to take all these different ideals and blend them together into one person, one legendary persona, right, and cater to lots of different groups in American society. When you finish with the screencast, you're going to open the Internet Explorer. You're going to go to www.history.com. In the search bar, you are going to search Teddy Roosevelt. And you can see the spelling. Okay. You are going to click the 4th video down. So you have History Mysteries, Teddy Roosevelt Shot, the Presidents, Teddy Roosevelt's Family, the President, Teddy Roosevelt, and the Presidents, Teddy Roosevelt's. Okay, these are going to be 2 sequential clips. We're going to watch the second one because this deals with him more in the United States. You're going to select the video. Video is 3 minutes and 1 second long. You're going to hit play. You're going to watch the clip. When you finish the movie, please log off, plug the laptop back in.